As someone who has been in a mentally abusive relationship, this book was so healing for me. Pardon the mess, don't look at this. Still trying to figure out what I want my background to be. Happy pub date to When Safety Wears Flannel by Siren Keys. It is officially released today, February 14th, 2026. Woo! Huge shout out and thank you to Bookfunnel and Siren Keys for sending me a digital advanced reader copy of this book. I feel very honored that I had the opportunity to read this before it got published, even though I finished it like 3 days ago. But it is officially release date, so this book is now available to purchase at either Barnes & Noble and Amazon. You can get either an ebook or a paperback. Links to all of those will be down in the description. But let's get into this discussion. There will be absolutely no spoilers, just some context and some backstory, just so you know what you're signing up for. When Safety Wears Flannel is a slow burn, small town romance. That's hard to say. Slow burn, small town romance. Say that 5 times fast. Slow burn, small town romance with forced proximity, triggering content, and a little bit of spice. 3 words that I would use to describe this book are emotional, heartfelt, and healing. We start the book off by following Gail's point of view. She is in this cabin, Blake's cabin, but we as the reader are led to believe that she's actually in a dangerous situation right now. We think that she is hiding from Blake, who is hunting her down in this cabin, which now that I've read the book, I think was actually brilliant because it truly captures what Gail is experiencing and feeling in that moment. She is just getting out of an abusive relationship. She just escaped from it. And so she thinks that the entire world is out to get her. This poor girl is scared of her own shadow. That's how broken she was inside. So the tone of this book starts off very dark, very tense. We kind of almost think it's going to be like a dark romance almost, but then that immediately changes. After this opening scene of Blake getting her out of the hiding spot and just taking a step back, letting her deal with what's going on, the tone of the entire book shifts into a more heartfelt, emotional kind of story. We then begin to learn that Blake is actually just trying to help Gail. He saw that she was in a very dark place and wanted to give her a chance to take a step back from the world, breathe, and heal after everything that she's been through. So he takes her to this secluded cabin to give her that opportunity. But can we low-key agree that he kind of kidnapped her? It was never really explained how Gail wound up at this cabin, but it was a throwaway line that Blake just brought her here. Let's not get into it. The forced proximity leads to some feelings from both parties, which on the outside makes sense, right? Because Blake is just like this perfect specimen in flannel and just makes every girl melt. And then Gail is like this little lamb over here who's just like adorable and loves cats. How could you not love them, right? But as soon as Gail starts to actually kind of heal and learn how to take care of herself, how to exist, the abusive ex comes back into the picture. Turns out that he is stalking her, tormenting her, and playing mental mind games on her to let her know that he is still around and he is not quite done with her yet. So you got the romance going on over here, you got this drama going on over here, put them together and you have a fantastic story. I thought this was written so well that I actually didn't want to put the book down. I didn't want to stop reading, which is rare for me. Usually after a little bit, I have to take like a little bit of a mental break. I did not experience that at all during this book. I was so consumed in the words, in the story, that I didn't want to stop. I just wanted to keep going. However, I will say that for a romance novel, this is very lengthy. I appreciate that we get both point of views. We keep switching between Gail and Blake throughout the entire book. But every time we switch to POV, it's literally picking up from the last sentence from the last point of view, which doesn't need to happen all the time. Some of the fat could have been trimmed out of this book. We did not need to see every single scene, moment, sentence between the two of them. We can skip around a little bit. I think if you did trim out some of that fat, it would have made this kind of a more enjoyable, fast-paced read. Again, I still enjoyed it. I still liked it very much. There were just points when I thought a certain scene was dragging on too long that it was about to lose me, but then it like shifts gears and it brings in some tension or something happens between Gale and Blake and pulls me back into it. So not inherently a bad thing that there is so much story. It actually can be a very good thing because there's a lot of books out there that needs more. But it was just a personal preference for me, specifically for a romance novel. I also would have really loved to have gotten Gale's backstory. We know she's coming from an abusive relationship, but we don't get the context as to what that abuse looked like. I think it was actually a very smart move to not include the backstory. Abusive relationships are not physical anymore. There are so many different kinds of abuse out there. There are so many complex layers to it that because we didn't actually get exactly what happened to Gale, that this whole story and situation can appeal to a much broader audience. As someone who has been in a mentally abusive relationship a very long time ago, I related to this so much. I enjoyed it and thought this was a very healing experience for me. And so that's why I think that no matter what kind of abuse someone might have endured in their life, they can relate to this story and they can heal from it as well. So yes, I think leaving out the extent to Gale's background is beneficial and works very well for this story, but I personally still want it. I'm nosy. I want to know what happened. This book is an extremely slow burn. It takes like longer than a football field to get to the start of anything remotely romantic. But once we do get to that very first kiss, the spice turns up a notch and it does not seem to stop. I'm not an expert on spice in books. I don't read a whole lot of romance. And if I do, it typically is like really, really mellow. So I would say that this is probably like a 2 out of 5 on the chili meter. It's more than just like a little bit of spice, but it's not aggressive. I don't think it's quite over the top. So yes, there is some spice, but I think it's tolerable. And last but certainly not least, there is some pretty triggering content throughout this book. Abuse being the biggest of it all. For those of you who have been in an abusive relationship, please use caution when coming to this book. I think it might be tough to get through, but I promise you, it is worth it. It is so healing to get to experience Gale and Blake's story, the relationship, to get to the end of it. I give this book 3.75 stars. I feel like some of the fat could have been trimmed out of it. I feel like I'm left with some unanswered questions. They're really not that big of a deal. They were very minor details for the context of the whole book. And the ending is very sweet, but I didn't like it. Again, no spoilers. It's just a trope that honestly is just not my favorite. The ending is good. It's very sweet. I personally did not like it. That's why I give this book 3.75 stars. But overall, very enjoyable read, very enjoyable book. For those of you that are die-hard romance readers, I think you should read this book. I think you would really, really enjoy it. Again, this book has been officially published as of today. Happy pub date to when Safety Wears Flannel and to you, Siren Keys. Links to order this book will be in the description.